Justice for all. Good morning and welcome to our Thursday morning meeting, the Board of County Commissioners, March 21st. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
To his left, Flo Liston. Good morning, Flo. She'll be taking care of us today. My right, Commissioner Candace Payne.
Good morning.
Deputy County Attorneys Hash and Shea, and Chief Administrative Officer Roger Baltz. There's a sign-in sheet in the front as well as agendas. Please sign in prior to leaving today so we have a good record of who's attended our meeting. And we have no consent action items today, Mr. Baltz, so we'll move right into our action items, which is the first one is number 3, a subrecipient agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Augusta American Legion, number 51. Good morning, Ms. McCauley.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning. Ann McCauley, Director of Grants and Purchasing. Before you today is a subrecipient agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Augusta American Legion Post, number 51. This project is for the implementation of a Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund award from the county. As a reminder, the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund, or LATCF, was a second set of ARPA funding that came down from U.S. Treasury specific to counties. Through this subaward, the county will provide funding to the Augusta Legion to be used at the Augusta Legion Rodeo grounds to install new electrical service and move wiring underground. The Augusta American Legion Rodeo is one of Montana's longest running rodeos and has been part of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association since 1938. The amount of this award is $22,850, and the period of performance is upon execution through September 30th of 2024. Staff recommendation is to approve. And I'd like to note that Mr. Bill Schrader from the American Post 51 is here. He is the finance officer for Augusta and can provide more information about the project.
Fantastic. Thank you. Mr. Schroeder, did I say that correctly? Schrader, excuse me. Mr. Schrader, welcome. If you just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Bill Schrader, Schrader spelled S-C-H-R-A-D-E-R. And my home address is 1310 Whoop-Up Trail in Augusta.
Great. Thank you for being here today. Might be a couple of questions. I think one might be for those that are watching potentially is just what the project is exactly and how it might enhance your operations there.
Well, as you know, the rodeo grounds and park in Augusta have been there since 1938, as she just expressed. The electrical work in there leaves a lot to be desired. It's been hacked together over the years. And so for infrastructure improvement, we'd sure like to see it gone underground and all the boxes and everything totally redone. We have a contractor that's signed on to do the job, and it's really going to be a vast improvement on the infrastructure for the rodeo grounds and the park. We're looking forward to seeing this done. For any future development, it needs to be there, for the electrical work. You know how that is. If you don't have infrastructure, you can't do nothing else. So we're glad that you people are really considering doing this and are very appreciative. We want to thank you all for considering it.
Thank you. And it may have been said already, but again, remind us when the project is planned to be.
I talked to the contractor yesterday and he said that he's waiting on a part, believes he'll have it soon. He said he could be started as early as the 15th of April. But will be started for sure by the 1st of May, and it will be done by the end of May.
Fantastic. So it'll beat the rodeo schedule.
Oh yeah, we'll be up for the rodeo.
That's great. There may be questions from other commissioners. Commissioner Payne?
I, of course, have questions. You had the nasty flood situation in Augusta a couple of years ago. Did that flood impact the rodeo grounds?
Oh yes, it does.
And did it take out some of the existing electrical?
No, it didn't.
It didn't do that.
No,
okay. So do you have to remove existing electrical connections to get them out of the way as part of this project?
All new. It's going to be all new.
But what do you do with the old stuff?
The contractor takes care of that.
Oh, all right. Good. And what's the date of the Augusta Rodeo this year?
The 30th of June. It's always the last Sunday in June.
Many years ago, my children were rodeo participants and they were at the Augusta Rodeo, and I believe my nephew broke his arm, or anyway, it's not easy being a parent of rodeo kids.
No, it's dangerous. It's not an easy sport.
Well, and not only for the rodeo, for the participants, but the parents
Sure.
sitting up in the stand. And I'm somebody's mother. My son does not want me going down there to pick him up when he gets hurt. I'm just, and it heart issues have
Yeah.
arisen.
Bringing back the memories.
Oh,
you go.
God.
Commissioner Rolfe, any questions?
No, I might have a comment at the end.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add for the record?
I just want to once again thank you, folks.
We really appreciate you coming down today and sharing
Okay.
some time with us. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, how about a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we accept the subrecipient agreement between Lewis and Clark County and Augusta American Legion number 51 as explained by Ms. McCauley and Mr. Schrader.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the subrecipient agreement as presented. Further discussion, commissioners. Commissioner Rolfe.
I just, another example of taking this unusual money that we got and solving a problem that we might not have ever gotten to, but it's something that needs to be done. It's not creating any long-term costs for the county where we have to start a program and then keep funding it, but it does make a difference for the community. So when you've got these monies that are coming in unexpectedly, I think that's the only way we can deal with them is to try to use them for one-time items like this. And I really support this particular one.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Payne.
I have nothing. I'm just,
All right. Well, I'd like to give you a shout out because I think you were the commissioner that brought that to the table. I think from talking with some of the folks in Augusta,
I might have
Right.
talked to,
Yeah, but
some gentleman came to the Augusta meeting and I don't remember who it was, but he said, we need lights up there. And I just thought, I'm an advocate for not spending all the money in the southeastern corner of our county. We have a lot of country out there that is not located down here. So I was on the lookout for projects for the folks out there that sometimes feel neglected. Glad to do it.
thank you. Thank you to Ann and Carrie Lutkehoos, who's probably watching today. Lutkehoos, I had to say it properly.
Just Carrie.
Carrie, yeah. So Carrie, thank you. She's working remotely today, and so we appreciate her work putting some of this together. All right, commissioners, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, thank you very much. Best of luck. We'll be looking forward to the rodeo this year. All right, next item on the agenda is American Rescue Plan Act update and recommendation for unobligated funds. Welcome back, Ms. McCauley.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, again, Ann McCauley, Director of Grants and Purchasing. And before I forget, and so thank you, Commissioner Hunthausen. Yes, Carrie Lutkehoos, who's our ARPA program specialist, is the one that's really working all this paper and the wheels. And I just get to be the one that presents it to you as she works remotely. But big shout out to Carrie for all the work she does. Today, I have an American Rescue Plan Act update for you. Putting this presentation together and this update, I think was a moment of reflection for me as we all are kind of looking back on what's occurred over the last 4 years since March of 2020 and a lot of the hardships, but also a lot of the opportunities that have come in this period of time. So just a high level view of the American Rescue Plan Act. It was a congressional act that was put in place for the entire country to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. That included a lot of funding going directly to state and federal agencies for public health response, housing response, schools, but it also included funding going directly to local governments, including every county in the country and cities over 30,000 people. Our local contribution, or what we're calling our local direct allocation, was $13,486,352. And then additionally, and I'll keep moving here, funding that was available through the state of Montana through the 2021 legislative session which we're referring to as the minimum allocation ARPA funds, was $2,376,000. So in total, we received about $15.5 million in American Rescue Plan Act. The minimum allocation funds from the state were specific to water and sewer infrastructure funding. Just a couple of highlights in ARPA by the numbers as of today. Of that 15.5 million, we have funded 55 community and county projects. Just fairly remarkable when you think about that many project codes and the team of finance that's also working behind the scenes on that. 9 of those were public health projects. 12 were funded to nonprofit or community organizations. 12 were also necessary water and sewer infrastructure projects. This was for many water and sewer districts within our county. 20 went to government service projects that supported priority projects of 9 county departments. And then the last one is our administrative project, which is to support Carrie Lucahus's ARPA program specialist position. Of those 55 projects, I'm happy to report that we have over half of them complete. 51% or 28 are complete at this point. And we're just below half of that being expended to date at about 6.5 million. The majority of that hasn't been expended is already obligated through the process that you've all been going through for the last 3 years. And then I'm also here today to talk about this unexpended amount of $679,885. So of that amount, I'll back up for a moment. This shows all of the expended and obligated funds. We refer to this as our master list, and it's a list that you've seen many times before, but this is the latest and greatest with the most recent numbers on it. Everything in gray in the second column means that that project's completed. And then the 2 little orange numbers, 43 and 44, are projects that have not yet started, but we've been engaging with ITNS on getting those projects going. And all the other projects are in some form of progress. So how did we get to that 600 and, oops. Oh, excuse me, this is the minimum allocation master list. So this is our, these are the funds that came from the state of Montana, DNRC, for water and sewer projects and fully obligated for these projects at this point.
Ann,
Yes.
could you explain why the cured in place pipe in Wolf Creek is has the big orange flag saying it's not done yet?
Yes, happy to, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. That is a project that we're doing in tandem with Montana Department of Transportation for major corridor work they're doing through the I-15 area in Wolf Creek. And MDT will be the one leading this part of the project. And that project just hasn't taken place yet. I think it's set to take place this summer. Yes, it's going to start this summer.
Thank you.
But that's why it's flagged that way, because it just hasn't started. Okay, so this sheet is the one that kind of shows how we got to that 679,885. If you recall, last May, we passed a process and set a project up for inflationary set aside. This was for projects that we anticipated might go over budget just because of inflationary costs that we were seeing for the last 2 years and having a little bit of cushion for when those projects happen. Happy to report that we'd had fewer projects go overrun than we expected, and a number of them went under budget. So we had initially set aside $250,000 last May for this inflationary set aside. And throughout the past year, we've had a number of projects utilize this set aside, but again, more have come under budget, namely the growth policy with community development and planning and Public Works Marysville Surface Preservation Project were the 2 large ones. So our initial set aside with 250 has now grown to 679,885. Yes, any questions so far
Yes.
through this?
When we were preparing for this, I of course looked, when I get confused by numbers, it worries me. Okay, so about number 6 down under public works, we've got two-way radios, which were obligated at $39,050. And then about three more down, it's public works, two-way radios, underrun returning of $18,998.83. Why, I mean, could you explain why that's in two columns on two lines? And
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, I might have Jenny Chambers from Public Works also help with this answer. What I can tell you is that this went through a number of solicitations and went through two formal competitive solicitations that neither of them were successful. So we went to direct negotiation. And in that process, Public Works came before us for a overrun request of up to $39,000. And then through final negotiations, it ended up not needing to be that much that they needed.
they only needed the 18,998. Jenny is standing up and I'll bet she has
It's
this.
approximately $20,000. It's the difference from $39,000 to $18,998.
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, for the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director. The actual allocation of the Public Works two-way radios was a larger dollar amount than that. I'm going to go back one slide just to get the exact dollar
Okay.
amount. So if you see there on the line 36, Public Works two-way radios,
Yes.
actual project cost was estimated to be $408,101.17. That's
17
with
cents.
17 cents, sorry, 17 cents. So that's with the overrun obligated amount of the $39,050. We went back to the committee and you as commissioners and asked for additional money to get to that $417,000 range because we were having a tough time getting this procured for the level of the cost of the project. We went out for two solicitations, like Ann mentioned. Were unsuccessful. Worked with the Grants and Purchasing Office to get direct negotiation authority. And then started conversations with suppliers, vendors, folks that could do this work. And with those conversations, what we have done is we've split the project into two parts. One for a purchase order through Motorola to get the equipment purchased, and then a contract with the vendor to actually get that equipment installed. And that allowed us to get it under budget, anticipating getting the work completed. But then with those negotiations and those costs, splitting it into a purchase order and then a contract for a vendor to install and troubleshoot and do the work for the radio installation that provided some cost savings in our overrun amount of the $18,998.83. So we still need a little bit more than our original request for the ARPA money, but not as much as we thought the overrun amount was going to be needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions at this point? Yes. Continuing. Okay.
No, I was just gonna offer you to continue if you had more. Any other questions, Commissioner? Please continue. You have more.
So in fall of 23, U.S. Treasury released kind of confirmation guidance with respect to what obligated meant. And under that reiterated guidance from U.S. Treasury, obligated means that it's under contract or in a subrecipient agreement or similar form for projects. And that needs to be completed by December 31 of 2024. And then all of the ARPA funding fully expended by the end of December 31 of 26. So kind of with that deadline of the end of this current calendar year, we have some projects that we'd like to bring forward for recommendation for this remaining $679,000. The first one I'd like to recommend is the ARPA program specialist position. This was a term position that was initially funded for 3 years. That would have been about November 21 to November of 24 for $250,120. This has been exclusively funding Carrie Lucahus's position. With 30 direct and minimum allocation projects still in progress, there is a very high need to continue this ARPA dedicated position through the end of the expenditure period of December 2026. This additional allocation would be $150,000 and would support Carrie at a 0.65 FTE status. The second project for recommendation is Country Club Avenue resurfacing. And this was recommended at $450,000. And I'll invite Ms. Chambers up again to speak more specifically about this project.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, again, for the record, Jenny Chambers, Lewis and Clark County Public Works Director. I want to thank Ann and Carrie and the ARPA team for the work they do, and also for working with the Public Works on proposing the Country Club project for use of these unobligated ARPA funds. As you're aware, Country Club Avenue is in rough shape and the age of the road is unknown. And when it was built, it was pre-current engineering standards and the infrastructure is failing. The long-term goal and need is to ultimately reconstruct down to the subsurface base and design and build a new road to meet current load weights, the high traffic volume, and current engineering standards. The road has a permanent weight restriction, and the road department used cold asphalt mix recently to patch the potholes, which has been every year for the last many years. And there is currently a rough road sign posted. The proposed project using ARPA allocation would allow us to complete an interim project on the county portion of Country Club Avenue. The scope of the interim project would be to complete a thin lift asphalt overlay that we would hope would go under bid and be completed towards the end of this summer construction, and then followed by a chip fog seal and epoxy paint later on. The project would provide for smoother driving surface and seal up the many years of pothole patching. The road would still have weight restrictions to minimize heavy loads and to preserve the work that was done, but because the subsurface needs to be reconstructed, it would be a temporary solution. Then this improvement should improve the road conditions for approximately 3 to 5 years, while we continue to look for options and funding needs for a long-term solution moving forward. As you're aware, this is a main transportation corridor that's used by the Montana Army National Guard and access for the Fort Harrison. Over the years, there have been many outreach and coordination with our military partners to complete a joint land use study and other reports to look at the transportation needs and the efforts for the Country Club Avenue Road. In November of 2022, Country Club was designated as a defense access route. That means it's a transportation route that's important for national defense. With this designation, we are hopeful that continuing to work with our military partners and others, that it will open the door for federal funds necessary to improve the transportation corridor and ultimately be able to reconstruct the road, which is needed for the long-term solution. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Director Chambers. Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Payne.
I have questions and comments. Thank you, Jenny. I'm so pleased that you've gotten this done. Now, one question I have is, I'm concerned that part of the problem here is the name of the road is Country Club Avenue. If this was called the Fort Henry Harrison Access Military Road to benefit all of our military participants or something like that, would that get the attention of the military people who we cannot do anything of substance on this road without their approval? Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, it is a county road. We would have the ability to, if we got funding through another avenue or federal dollars or appropriation, we could reconstruct the road without coordination with military partners. However, we would want to make sure we had their support and coordination. Changing the name of the road may provide different opportunities.
That was facetious. I'm sorry. Yeah. When I was campaigning, people out in our community, that was, and not just the people who use the country club, but clear out Birdseye and Marysville, I mean, there's a lot of people who use that road. There's a dangerous intersection where it turns onto, and I think it's the Bird's Eye, it's a three-way. It really needs attention, and I really appreciate the efforts that you and the whole department have made. You will recall that we actually met with General from the fort. I can't think of his name. Ronick. That's right. And he came and had coffee with us at the country club. We sat and visited about, we kept, with your assistance, we kept it pretty well focused on the road. And General Ronick told us that he actually rides his bike on that road and is very familiar with the potholes, and sees them as something of a course to increase his agility on avoiding things. But anyway, thank you. This will help. Hopefully it may save lives because bicyclists do use it. Maybe, anyway, thanks for your good hard work on this, and let's get that darn thing fixed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions about this?
Yeah, I think it makes some good sense. You're thinking it would probably keep the road usable in better shape for 3 to 5 years. And
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe, yeah, that's the road department and construction coordinators estimates based upon other work we've done in other areas. The important thing to note is that this is an interim solution. So while the public might be pleased with us doing a little bit of work now, it is not the long-term solution that's ultimately needed. And depending upon the volume of traffic, any kind of participation or snow fall we get in the future, weights on the road, all of that impacts the road if the subsurface is already failing. So the more you drive on it, if there's not a good base underneath of that, that's what breaks down the road, and you have a lot more freeze thaw issues and water getting in the roads and things like that. So the 3 to 5 years is just a rough estimate. It might be longer, it might be shorter, but just to know that we're trying to make a smoother surface while we continue to look for federal funding and other means to get the long-term solution for the road to be reconstructed.
okay, well, and again, this is a good use of this one-time money. We're not creating any extra programs that we have to continue to fund down the road. We're taking care of an immediate need and trying to take care of something now that needs attention, and a lot of people are concerned about. So I think this is a good idea.
Commissioner Payne.
I just had one further question, Jenny. If this were to be fixed, permanently fixed up to the requirements of the Defense Access Road, and so wouldn't have to have weight limits on it, what is the cost? And I know you've told me this before, and it's millions.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, our estimate right now is anywhere from $9 to $12 million. That's a rough estimate based upon other projects we've done in the area and Montana Department of Transportation estimates, things like that. We do need to have a complete engineering design done on this project and a better cost estimate moving forward, but that is the ballpark range right now.
$1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon you're talking real money.
Yep.
Oh, and it's my understanding part of the problem also is this is a wetlands
Mr.
area.
Chairman, Commissioner Payne, there's with any project, there's always complications. And for Country Club Avenue, there's some design considerations we'll have to work forward on. There's wetlands in the areas. There's a bridge on Country Club Road. There's also the intersection that you mentioned. All of those would be part of the project scope to try to make sure that we designed it to meet environmental permitting requirements, took into account the bridge infrastructure, and then also any kind of intersections, both on the city side and also on Williams Avenue on the other side by the fort.
Okay, thank you.
One other question.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner.
It's my understanding that we were able to get the engineering put into a request in the current defense bill that Congress is looking at. Are you familiar with whether that's still potential of getting that design money out of that defense field?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rolfe. Yes, we were successful last year. March of 2023, Lewis and Clark County submitted an appropriation request through the congressional fiscal year 24 budget for $750,000 to help with the engineering design and transportation corridor evaluation that would hopefully get us a complete 100% or 75% design that would allow us to apply for federal construction dollars because we had that design all ready to go and we knew what that ballpark was. To date, I still have not heard the status of that. Been making a lot of phone calls and trying to check on where that is. But certainly, hopefully, we still have potential for that or other opportunities moving forward.
About a month ago, Commissioner Payne and I were back in DC for the NACO meeting and met with staff from Senator Daines and Senator Tester's office, and one of the staffers from Daines' office said that money was still in at that point, but they're still wrangling back there on what the total money that they're going to be able to provide through that defense bill. But a month ago it was there, and hopefully it'll still be there.
Hopefully.
Great.
Thank you very much. And just as we move forward here, just a note, in the same corridor, all the way, Bird's Eye all the way, will be another project this year. So folks that might be watching today that live along that corridor, further up Bird's Eye will have another nice project. So they'll get significant work done this year in the Country Club Bird's Eye corridor. So great. Ms. McCauley.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director Chambers. The next project recommended for funding is the fair market reevaluation with Helena Housing Authority. This was approved by the commission on Tuesday, and just this recommendation is to fund it through these remaining ARPA funds. I worked with Frank Cornwell, our CFO, on this, and it seems to be an appropriate way to go. This will be a subrecipient agreement. It will be reimbursement based through that subrecipient agreement as that fair market reevaluation gets underway. And the last recommendation I have is to maintain a smaller amount in this inflationary set aside. As I noted, we still have a number of projects that are still in progress. Many of them have gone through solicitation. A couple have not, but this maintenance of a smaller amount of set aside will again give us that wiggle room in case projects have experienced an overrun or an unexpected event. And that would just be the remaining of $54,885. Come next fall of 2024, and we kind of understand where those projects are at. The Treasury guidance does allow for administrative services. And by administrative, I mean personnel, single audit costs, reporting and compliance costs can be expended beyond that December 31 of 2024 date for those administrative activities. And so anything remaining in the set aside could just be utilized for any of that administrative costs.
Fantastic. Good. That's good news.
Yes.
I'm kind of wondering about that. What if we had something come in under and it was right at the end of our 24 timeframe, what we could do with that money. So that's good to know. Good to know.
Yes. The Treasury guidance also does allow for what they call indirect costs of federal assistance. And we have not allocated any of this funding to indirect costs. It can be up to 10% of our entire award. So it could be up to 1.3 million, but we could also just claim this as indirect costs and have a lot of flexibility.
Great. So we have options, and likely it'll be under that 10%. So if we needed to sweep it into that category, we could do that pretty easily without.
We have
running up
also
against the rules. Yeah.
The American Rescue Plan Act has been part of our single audit for both FY22 and FY23, and we have not used any of these funds to cover those single audit costs. But I've also spoken with our CFO about potentially looking at doing that in the coming year if it's selected again for that single audit. So
It's likely.
which is likely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So any action today that we have to take on this
Yes.
to approve your plan? I just want to make sure that, do you have another question?
No, I'm ready to do a motion.
Yes.
As I
So,
can see what she needs.
The action being
Just wanted to
requested
be on the
is,
record.
yes, and so that concludes my update, is to accept this update and approve the 3 recommended projects and then maintain the inflationary set aside fund with your remaining ARPA balance. Staff recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. I knew the answer to that question. I just wanted it to be on the record so we
Yes.
could make sure folks were aware of what we were doing. So now, Commissioner Payne, well, before you do that, I'd like to
Gotta be
take public
public.
comment, if there's any public comment. Any public comment on this plan and recommendation? Okay. Now, Commissioner Payne, do you have a motion for us?
I move that we accept the, as reported by Ms. McCauley, the ARPA update and approve the three recommended projects for funding with the remaining ARPA money.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded to accept the update and move the recommendations forward. Commissioner Payne, I think you said three recommendations. The fourth would be the remaining inflationary set aside fund in her. So I just want to make sure we're all clear
Well,
on
Yeah.
the whole recommendation. Okay,
Yes.
you're good with that?
I'm reading the language provided to us on the page 3 that says request. So,
Great.
and I wondered about that. And yes, we do,
Just want to make sure
including
we're recognizing that.
the inflationary set aside fund maintenance as discussed in this presentation.
Great. Just wanted to be on the record.
You bet. That's
And the second,
second is fine.
you were going to bring that up anyway, weren't you?
You bet.
Oh, we
right,
do work
good.
together. What a team.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just want to take the minute to just express my appreciation to Ann and her staff and the Grants and Purchasing Department. They have done such an exemplary job of keeping us posted on progress and the opportunities to use this money. The commission made the decision, as I mentioned earlier, that we were going to try and head towards one-time money. They've presented all sorts of opportunities to us, helped us dig down into them and make sure that we were using the money the most efficiently possible. They've kept us on top of the progress of each of these items, and I really believe that because of that work of the Grants and Purchasing Department under Ms. McCauley's leadership, we're probably way ahead of what anybody else in the state is doing in local government in properly taking care of these opportunities that were provided to us. So thank you for our job well done.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your comments. Any other comments?
No.
I would just the same or ditto in a lot of ways. And I just wanted to point out as well that at the outset, I think, we had some kind of overarching things that we wanted to address, but we also wanted to spread it around the county. And you can see it even today, smaller projects like the Augusta project to very large infrastructure projects. And, not only roads, but there, with the minimum allocation side of things, there's lots of, I like to say, pipes in the ground as well around the county. And we've done a lot across the county, and it is great kudos, like Commissioner Rolfe just said, to our staff, Ann and Carrie and the gang. Really appreciate your work. We wouldn't be here without that. And the other thing that people don't recognize is we get to see these at this stage, and it's all federal dollars, and with federal dollars comes many, many strings and hoops and jumps and bumps and things that somebody has to track, take care of, report on. Just about every time you turn around, there's another report or something that has to be done, and to make sure that we're tracking these dollars appropriately and that we're reporting on them appropriately. So it's a big deal, and I thank you very much. And I'm so happy to look at this list and all the things that we've been able to get done across this county. I think, as Commissioner Rolfe said, that we're probably, at least in up front, we're in the front seat across the state in terms of the great projects we've done and the things we've been able to accomplish. And as Commissioner Rolfe repeats that, we're not setting ourselves up for long-term costs either. We're doing one-time projects, which is important. And we said we were going to do that at the outset.
And I think one of the great examples, if I might, Mr. Chair, add to that, is when we were working on that minimum allocation fund, and we found at the last minute that the rules had changed and we are at risk of losing some money. We were able to transfer a substantial piece to East Helena, to the city of Helena, in order to save it for our community. So again, you folks being on top of it have made a huge difference for us.
Thank you. Yes. All right. With that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. All right. We move on. We are at that time in our meeting where we will take public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission, but not on today's agenda. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing no public comment, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.